So, Celtic season preview. Last season, they were pretty disappointing compared to their expectations. Had a 36-36 record, which was good for 7th in the East. They were actually 10th in offense and 14th in defense, so their net rating was pretty decent. But the whole year, it just didn't really work. They were sort of struggling with injuries and COVID protocol, and they had a bit of a lack of depth, especially at the wing position. And in the playoffs, Jaylen Brown got injured before the playoffs, and they ended up losing in 5 games to the Brooklyn Nets. So overall, just not a great season for the Celtics. But with everything that was going on in the NBA last year, a lot of teams had a similar season. This offseason, they are quite busy. Brad Stevens became the general manager, and Ime Udoka became the new coach. They traded Kemba Walker and the 16th pick in this year's draft for Al Horford. They traded Tristan Thompson for Chris Dunn. They traded for Josh Richardson on a 1-year deal, giving up Moses Brown. They signed Dennis Schroeder and Enes Kanter to 1-year deals. And they also lost Fournier to the Knicks and created a $17 million trade exception in that deal. So quite a busy offseason overall. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think getting off of Kemba for Horford will be a good deal. Fournier, you don't want to overpay for that. I think they did well to get the trade exception. I think Schroeder at 1 year is a good deal for only $6 million. Kanter, sure, he's a decent backup center. And then Josh Richardson, we'll just have to see how good he is. Okay, if I think of a starting lineup, and from the reports I'm reading, I think the starting lineup is going to be Marcus Smart, Josh Richardson, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and Al Horford. I mean, you could sub in maybe Schroeder for Richardson, and maybe Robert Williams for Horford, but I'm just going to go with this starting lineup. So Smart last season, 13 points, 6.7 assists. I think his defense wasn't as good as it has been in previous years, and that's probably something that needs to be fixed. Apart from that, I think maybe shooting a little bit less and playmaking a little bit more could be his role on this year's team. I mean, you want him taking those spot-up threes, but sometimes it's just not the right time, and he would be better just passing it to another guy and just focusing on being a great defender, maybe a bit more off ball, maybe some screen setting and sets for off ball sets for Tatum and Brown. He's the heart and soul of this team, and he's willing to do everything to win, which is always a good thing. And defensively, I think that's going to be the biggest thing this year, just getting back to what he was defensively the past couple of years. I'm just going to say it now. My big thing for this team, I think, is their path to being a great team is defensively. I think between Smart, Richardson, Brown, Tatum, Horford, they're all good defenders. So I think if they're going to be a really high seed or do anything in these playoffs, I think it has to come defensively. And then I think that has to start with Marcus Smart, because he's a great point of the attack guy. He always gets a steal or dives for a loose ball to change the momentum. And he got his extension, so I think now it's time for him to really be that guy defensively again. At the 2, I have Josh Richardson. Could well be Schroeder starting, could be someone else. But I think with Richardson, averaged like 12 points a game last year. He's been on a slow downslope since Miami, but I think there is still potential there. I think defensively is probably, again, his main asset, being pretty long, 6'6", can switch a little bit, can guard multiple positions, being a good defender. I think that's sort of going to be one of his uses. And I think the other thing that's massive is the three-point shot needs to fall. He was only 33% from 3 last year. He needs to be a guy that they at least respect when he's spotting up, because if not, you can just ignore him, and that's going to hurt the Celtics offense, especially with they have the ability to go 5 out, and I think getting to the rim is important for them offensively to do more of that. So I think the big thing for Richardson is making sure he can knock down those threes. At the 3, Jaylen Brown had a very, very good season last year, averaged 24 points per game, almost 25 points a game. 6 rebounds, good efficiency, and I think he just needs to keep developing. I mean, he's still pretty young, and what's his ceiling? Is it sort of what he is now, or does he have another gear? Whether it's even more threes, or maybe it's more defensively, maybe it's more playmaking. I think that could be the area. More playmaking off pick and rolls, that sort of thing. We'll just have to see with Jaylen Brown. I think, but having a player like him who is still pretty young, who has good size, who can play make a little bit, but who is also a good scorer, can get to the rim, can shoot, can defend. I think that's something that's very, very valuable. And I just don't know what his ceiling is. So I'm excited to see what he does next year, see if he can build on what he did last year, where he obviously took a massive step. Then Jayson Tatum, last year, 26.4 points, 7.5 rebounds, 4 assists. I before the season, I thought Tatum would have a massive leap, and I think he did take a leap, had some big scoring nights, but I think there's still a gear to go here. I think some of the things is getting to the rim more. I mean, sometimes you feel, before is the mid-range, but now you feel he almost settles for a few bad sidestep threes, or, a few times he's taking a mid-ranger where maybe you think get to the rim, get to the free throw line. If he does that more, he'll improve his efficiency, using his body, using his strength, and, protecting the ball from defenders and getting to the rim, that sort of thing. I think that's something he could do more of. I think the playmaking, too, is something that could really take him to the next level, because the Celtics do need some playmaking. I think last year the offense was way too stagnant, not enough ball movement. I think between Smart, Richardson being an okay passer, Brown, but I think Tatum, as the guy who's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, needs to take a step there. But apart from that, he's been just great. I mean, he has taken a big leap, and I think you see how much potential there is, and that can sometimes lead to you maybe being a little bit too critical when, this guy is a really great player, but he definitely has another step to take. And then at center, Al Horford, I think they'll probably go with the vet. Last year with the Thunder was a weird season, but he still proved that he is a good player. 14 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. And I think they really need his defense and playmaking. I think defensively, he offers a lot between being able to be the traditional center, good post defense, good rim protection, but also maybe a little bit of switching onto slower players. Like, we'll just see. I don't want him switching on to like Dame per se, but if it's a guy that he can, I think that could open up more options for the Celtics defensively. And then offensively, I think, spacing the floor, that's going to be important to open up the paint, to let Tatum and Brown get to the rim more. I think the playmaking too, we'll see what Udoka's offense is. I'd suspect less isolation than last year. And maybe some sets where Horford has the ball at the top of the key, some off-ball stuff for the Jays. We'll see. But I think Horford could be a big part of the Celtics this year, and I think he will be the starting center. Then off the bench, I think Schroeder is the main guy. Averaged 15.5 points a game last year and 6 assists. We'll just have to see how he adjusts to the new role, whether he is starting alongside Smart or coming off the bench. He won't be the number one guy, though he wasn't with the Lakers. Maybe the 6-man role will be better, like he was in OKC. Can carry the offense without Tatum and Brown. Can allow you to sit both Tatum and Brown at the same time and not have to stagger them. And then when he's playing with the other guys, it's about the three-pointer, whether he can be a good spot-up player. The rest of the bench, Pritchard, good young point guard. We'll see what his ceiling is. Was really good in Summer League. Chris Dunn, if they want more defense. Langford, still sort of a project, but we'll see if he can break out. Nesmith, I think, second year, I think he could show something, especially he's sort of like their shooter. So, like, if you look at their lineup, it's a lot of solid shooters, but they don't have that lights out shooter. So maybe Nesmith can be that guy. Jabari Parker, Grant Williams. I mean, I'm not convinced by either of them. And I do feel like the Celtics could use one more sort of bigger wing guy who can shoot and defend, but couldn't every team. And then Robert Williams, as I mentioned, as the backup center. They gave him an extension. We'll see with, obviously the rim rolling and the lob catching, but defensively, the shot blocking, the rebounding. We'll see if he can stay out of foul trouble, and, maybe he becomes the starting center if he's playing really well. I think there's a lot of potential there. Yeah, I think, so as I mentioned it before, they could use one more wing. I think another thing is, I think the path to the greatness is the defense, and I think they can do it between Smart, Richardson, Brown, Tatum, Horford. These guys are all good defenders, so we'll have to see what happens. If I think of a prediction, I think they'll be better than last year. I think there'll be a bit more organization, but I think the East has gotten better, so I'm going to say the 6th seed is probably a realistic target. Maybe the 5th seed, but you have to be careful because there's so many good teams in the East. I can't say every team is going to be the 4th seed, and I think there's a lot of teams that could be aiming for the 4, 5, 6 seeds between the Heat, the Hawks, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Bulls. There's quite a few, so I think I'm going to say the Celtics are going to be the 6th seed, but we'll have to see what happens. But anyways, thanks for watching this video, guys. Leave a like. Subscribe to this channel for more NBA content. I'm going to be posting a season preview every second day until pretty much the NBA season starts. And I'll see you guys next time.